Good evening. We'd like to call this meeting to order. And if you would please stand, I'm going to call on Mr. Nathan from Chapel by the Bay Church to come up and lead us in our invocation.
Let's pray together. God, we're so grateful for the opportunity to be here today, to represent Jesus Christ and to do all that we can for this community that we love so much, to bring about your goodwill. We pray for wisdom for the mayor and the town council and all of us that are here, that we might be able to listen and discern your will and then apply that as well. And what a great opportunity we have to get to live here in this part of the country and represent all that you have for it. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
If you please would remain standing, we're going to call on Noel Rocco from North Topsail Elementary School to come up and lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Noel. At this time, we have a proclamation for the Marine Corps' 248th birthday. And it basically states, the United States Marine Corps 248th birthday, whereas on November 10th, 1775, the Second Continental Congress of the United States resolved to create 2 battalions on the Continental Marines, and whereas United States Marines have served with distinction in every conflict since their founding, holding true to their heritage in any clime and place, and whereas North Carolina is the home of 40,000 active duty Marines and over 1,000 reserve Marines that proudly defend the freedoms enjoyed by North Carolinians throughout the state, whereas Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville and the Marine Corps Air Station in Cherry Point represent a critical role in the Marine Corps mission in the eastern seaboard, whereas Montford Point served as a recruit depot for African American Marines when they were allowed to enlist in 1942, representing a major milestone in the civil rights movement, and whereas North Carolina has earned a reputation for being one of the most military-friendly states throughout the constant recognition and gratitude towards our armed forces. Whereas today we seek to honor and celebrate the founding of the United States Marine Corps and wish a heartfelt happy birthday. And whereas the state of North Carolina encourages all citizens, businesses, organizations, leaders, elected officials to continue their heartfelt support for the United States Marine Corps, their ongoing mission to ensure our freedom. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Teresa B. Batts, the mayor of Surf City, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim November 10th, 2023 as Marine Corps' birthday in this town and commend its observance to all citizens, passed and approved and adopted this 8th day, November 2023. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to call on our Beautification and Enhancement Committee. If the chair is here or anyone from that committee would like to come up as well, they are welcome to do so. We have a special recognition for the business of the month, which is the Sea Witch Lounge. And if there's anyone here tonight from the Sea Witch, if you would please come up and let Miss Sandy Marone present you with this certificate.
Nice to see you again.
Doing a picture op.
Thank you so much for doing everything you do in the community and for a beautiful place for our citizens to gather. Thank you. You're welcome.
Do you have anything you want to say, Mark?
We're just so flattered by the attention we're getting, and we just love y'all. We do. Thank you so much, everyone,
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.
And the home of the month was 529 Montgomery Loop in Saltwater Landing.
That's right.
There we go.
Well, there are so many beautiful homes in Saltwater Landing, but yours was chosen this month, and
Thank
we're
you.
so
Thank you
appreciative
very
of
much.
everything you're doing out there
I really appreciate
to make
it.
your city beautiful.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call on David Price to come forward, and we're going to do a special recognition for our Public Utility Department. A lot of you see these guys around town, may not know their name, but I can guarantee you, if something goes wrong in your home, water or sewer, they show up, and they show up immediately to help resolve your problems. David Price, the utility department consists of 15 full-time positions spread out over four divisions. Full-time positions spread out over 4 divisions. This department is headed up by David Price. David started with the town at the beginning of 2006 as summer help. In his nearly 18 years of dedicated service, David has moved from dumping trash cans and mowing right-of-ways to being the Director of Public Utilities. During his tenure, David has earned certifications in wastewater treatment, wastewater collections, water treatment, water distribution, and cross-connection ORC, as well as a bachelor's degree from UNCW. We are very proud for David Price's dedication to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor said, the utility department made up of 4 different divisions. We're relatively small compared to the load we have. I like to go through the guys behind me because they all have an important job. Unfortunately, not all of them could be here tonight. I still got town to run. I still got people manning the ship. The administrative division consists of Steve Smith, and Allie Hupp, and myself. Steve Smith is the Deputy Director of Public Utilities. He's been with the town 20 years now. He's certified in wastewater treatment, collections, water treatment, distribution, and he's a graduate from ECU. Steve lends his experience to infrastructure planning, and he oversees all the day-to-day operations. Allie is our utility finance specialist and has been with the town just over 2 years. Allie has earned her water certification and is also a graduate from ECU. Allie oversees 5,000 accounts and handles the bulk of record keeping and customer concerns for the department. If you have water sewer in Circle City, you probably talk to Allie at some point or another. The wastewater division, Zach, consists of Zach Butler, Mike Hash, Matt Sweeting, Zach Halso, and Nick Reitke. This division treats 250 million gallons of wastewater per year and maintains over 200 acres of spray fields spread out over 2 sites. Zach Butler, the supervisor, has been at the plant for 13 years. He is an operator in responsible charge, has a grade 4 wastewater and a surface irrigation license. Mike Hash, unfortunately, couldn't be here. He's a senior staff member with 8 years. He serves up as backup operator in responsible charge. He also manages the lab and is responsible for making sure all sampling is done properly and on time. He is a leader of the rest of the staff who shares his knowledge and experience with others. He is a wastewater grade 3 and a surface irrigation license. Matt Sweeting is a 4th year at the wastewater plant. He is a crew leader. He is a skilled mechanic and maintains our fleet of vehicles and various other equipment. He is in charge of maintaining Juniper Swamp Irrigation Site. He is a grade 1 and surface irrigation license. Zach also has been with us for a year. He has experience from a previous job at another utility. He is a skilled machinery operator and fits in well with the crew. He recently obtained a surface irrigation license and will be testing for wastewater grade 1 soon. Nick Reitke has been here for a year. Nick recently obtained his surface irrigation license and is looking forward to training for his wastewater grade 1. Now, most of these guys are collections and distribution. These are the guys, except for a few already mentioned, all the guys you see out in town most of the time. The collection and distribution division consists of Casey Jones, Kevin Sumer, TK Ock, Julian Williams, Mike LaRock, and Chris Norris. This division maintains 51 sewage pumping stations, 5,000 service connections, 5 wells, 3 water towers, and over 120 miles of buried water and sewer line. This division is also responsible for installing connections on new homes being added to Surf City. Casey Jones unfortunately couldn't be here, but he's a supervisor of this division. He has 10 years experience with the town and his collections 1 certification. Casey is scheduled to take his collections 2 this winter. Kevin Sumer has been here 13 years, and he is our heavy equipment operator. TK Ock has been with the town 2 years, is certified collections, and is scheduled to take his collections 2 this winter. Julian has been with the town 4 years, and has recently earned his B distribution certification. Julian is the first town employee to earn this certification in 13 years. Michael Rock has been with the town for 4 years, and he was instrumental with the AMI meter reading system. AMI mostly helps us, but hopefully later this winter y'all get to know a little bit better. You're going to love it. Chris Morris is our latest addition. Chris came from another utility, is currently certified in collections, and is sitting for water treatment this winter. The utility department has found success in utilizing technology and skill to provide an essential service while keeping costs to a minimum. The utility department is also unique in that every one of these staff members has to do their job every day without error to ensure that town has clean drinking water, adequate fire protection, and to protect the environment. This is only possible by having a dedicated and adaptive staff to accomplish this mission. I'm appreciative that I have that in Surf City. Thank you.
All right.
Before moving forward and approving the agenda, I'm going to need a motion to allow Councilman Hugh Cannady to join us virtually.
I make a motion that we allow Hugh Kennedy to join us by Zoom.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Madam Mayor, in light of the remote attendance, I would request that all votes from this point forward be roll call votes, so we're clear as to how he votes.
You do the roll call, or you want me to?
The clerk will.
Okay. All right.
I can't even keep the law stuff straight.
Okay, so we have the approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion we approve it.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Or are we going to do a roll call? Roll call. Okay, roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes.
You can, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we move forward to public comments.
I think they just did consent.
Oh, that was just the agenda there? Okay. All right, so that we just did the agenda. We will move forward to the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We got to do a roll call. John?
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes.
You can, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. The approval of the consent agenda carries. Now we will move forward to public comment.
Sandy Monroe.
So, first, I just want to congratulate all of the new and re-elected council members and our re-elected mayor, and I want to thank any outgoing council members for their many years of dedicated service. But I also wanted to encourage all of those candidates that ran to continue to share their ideas and to continue to be involved in the community, because there were some wonderful ideas shared, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. And I also want to say thank you for such a gracious and well-run campaign season this time around. From the Beautification and Enhancement Committee side, we have just put out our call for proposals for the new mural that will go in on the Kinston Street Beach access this spring. So look for that in town announcements and Beautification Committee member Facebook announcements, as well as you can visit artexposure.com, and that's where the request for proposal resides. And I also wanted to say congratulations to all of those that were involved in making Surf City Live such a well-run event. It was wonderful, and I received the most overwhelmingly positive comments and about the event, and I just wanted to say congratulations. And that's it.
Mr. and Mrs. Emond?
That's it? Okay. All right, so we will move forward to our next item, public hearings. The special use permit ordinance revision. I'm going to call upon Amy Combs, our planning director, to come forward. Not yet.
I have the next 5 items, so I'm just going to move in. Stay for a little bit. So the first item that I'm going to talk about tonight is the special use permit ordinance revision. I have just a few slides for each item tonight so that y'all can kind of follow along with what I'm talking about. Hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier for those of you in the audience and those of you at home. Maybe. So that's not working. Really don't need it so much for the first one anyway. It is the special use permit, which is found in Appendix A, Section 8 of our zoning ordinances. So for those of you who are not familiar, the first section, which is the chapter section, is the municipal code, and then Appendix A, B, and C are the zoning and subdivision regulations, and those go through the planning board and then the hearing process here at council. So Appendix A of the town ordinances allows for certain uses to be permitted after issuing a special use permit. The current ordinance requires that the SUP request be heard by the planning board prior to the public hearing held at the council meeting. Per North Carolina general statutes, all SUP hearings are quasi-judicial. A quasi-judicial hearing does not allow the council to accept the planning board's recommendation as testimony. The council may only consider testimony from people with standing. This ordinance creates a step in the process that cannot be utilized in the final decision. The text amendment request removes all language regarding the planning board from Appendix A, Section 8, special use permits. So going forward, instead of us coming to planning board and then me not being able to tell you what they said, we are going to hopefully go forward with them just coming to council. The information will be presented and the decision will be based off of what you hear during that presentation. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak? We need to open up the public hearing first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I make a motion, we go into public hearing.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
John Koloski seconds it.
William Fowler, yes. Ron Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes. I'm sorry.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
Madam Mayor, I just want to clarify that this is a proposed ordinance amendment, which is legislative in nature. we've talked about SUPs in the past, and we'll talk about applications for special use permits later tonight. When you're actually applying for a permit, that's a quasi-judicial hearing, but this particular aspect where we are right now is dealing with a code revision, so it's not quasi-judicial, it's just a public hearing. So people don't have to be sworn in and things of that nature. So, and now we can open the, I guess you just did open the public
So
hearing.
we had a motion and a second. All in favor said aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. So at this time, we will open up the floor to public comment. Did anyone sign up, Carla? If anyone has a question or anything regarding this ordinance amendment, now is your time to speak. Does anyone have anything to say concerning the ordinance amendment? Hearing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
John Koloski, favor, yes.
Fowler, yes. Don Helms, yes.
Chairman Shugarts, yes.
Cannady, yes.
All those that oppose, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion, we follow the planning department's recommendation to consider approval of the ordinance or revision as presented.
Second it.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Don Helms, yes.
Chairman Shugarts, yes.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries for the request of the town council approval of the ordinance revision as presented. Next item, Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance Update.
So this one will follow the same procedure. It is a text amendment with a public hearing. It is an amendment to Section A, or Appendix A, Section 4.1.17, which is the Coastal Forest Overlay District. The Appendix A of the town ordinances creates the zoning requirements for the town. The town is currently working to update the zoning and subdivision ordinances so that they reflect the recently adopted comprehensive land use plan. Ordinances that require more immediate attention are being brought forward on an individual basis. Although they are being brought forward at this time, additional changes may be made during the update process. The Coastal Forest Overlay District was created to help preserve and protect the remaining maritime forest and natural vegetation in the town's most vulnerable areas. This zoning district encompasses all properties on Topsail Island, as well as properties adjacent to coastal waters and wetlands. In recent years, the amount of fill being placed in these areas has significantly increased. Staff was directed by the town council at the August work session to consider language limiting the placement of fill. Staff is recommending that the CFOD language be modified to support the limit of fill placement, stormwater flowing off-site, and increased erosion control measures. The attached ordinance revisions are for your review. The comprehensive plan has the following recommendations regarding stormwater and fill. So out of the plan, we have to consider amending the town ordinances to provide additional regulatory standards within the floodplain, erosion-prone area, and other areas susceptible to hurricane and other storm event flooding. To consider amendments to the town's zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations to further address stormwater runoff from development, and to consider opportunities for strengthening and enforcing local regulations that protect native flora and fauna, such as mitigating the impact of human development on sea turtles. To consider opportunities to update the town's development regulations to address stormwater control and erosion and sediment, and also to explore options to regulate the placement of fill on lots on the island. Any such regulations should include requirements for the specific fill material. Planning Board recommended approval of the text amendment as submitted. I have highlighted on the next slide a couple of those requirements. So in the ordinance, we are looking at changes to the amount of fill. So the ordinance language would request that every site that is going to bring in any fill be accompanied by a scaled grading plan depicting elevation changes prepared by a licensed land surveyor, landscape architect, or professional engineer. The scaled plan is not required if you are only doing 4 inches. However, a sketch plan shall be submitted. And then all fill must be contained on site by either a retaining wall or sloped no steeper than 3:1. Retaining wall shall not exceed 3 feet in height unless a certification letter is submitted by a licensed professional engineer stating compliance with state building code requirements. The amount of fill added to the lot shall not be greater than 2 feet above the crown of the highest adjoining street or access easement. However, an additional 1 foot of fill not to exceed a maximum of 3 feet above the crown of the highest adjoining street or access easement may be added, provided it is demonstrated through a coastal engineering analysis that the proposed fill will not result in any increase in the base flood elevation and not cause any adverse impacts by wave ramping or deflection to the subject structure or adjacent properties. Fill that is necessary to meet any county environmental health department or town/North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality stormwater permit requirements may exceed the fill limit and only to the minimum extent allowed by that permit. If the lot is graded so that the stormwater flows towards a street or access easement, an engineered stormwater system such as a swell, bioretention area, or other approved apparatus must be installed adjacent to the right-of-way to treat the first 1.5 inch rain in 24 hours. And then if you bring in fill, you will have to utilize sediment and erosion control measures to ensure that sediment does not leave your site. And then if fill is placed, the fill must begin to taper back to natural ground at the setback line or to be contained by a retaining wall. Fill cannot be placed on or around protected trees. And those are the main changes. The marked up document is in your packet. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
At this time, can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Koloski, yes.
Don Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
Okay. All those were yes votes. Are there any no votes? Okay. We are moving forward with a public hearing. Are there any public comments? If you have any questions on this, please come forward now.
Charles Riggs, 502 New Bridge Street. If our lot is already 2 or 3 feet above the street, and we remove the trees and the root mat, are we allowed to bring it back to the original elevation of the lot? I don't think that's addressed in these comments. Understand? If we're 3 feet above the street and then we take off.
If you brought it back, you wouldn't, if you have a natural elevation and you change the material and remain at the same elevation, are you really filling it?
Well, you would be, because if you remove,
Maintaining elevation.
but you're filling it with new material.
We can look at.
I just want to make sure that's understood, because that's going to
yes,
happen.
we can look at the wording of that you can change the material but not exceed the natural elevation if the natural elevation exceeds the 2 foot.
Okay. I just think that needs to be addressed in the wording. That's all. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I thank Ms. Kimes for answering Mr. Rick's question.
Oh.
No, I thank you. I'm just, for the minutes, it was a hypothetical question, not based on an application or any data that she was analyzing. So I just want to be clear that, I know you'd never do this, Mr. Ricks, but down the road, I don't want someone to take these minutes and beat her over the head with it, because she was kind enough to respond to a hypothetical on the flag question. So I just want the minutes to reflect that, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak concerning the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance update?
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second it. Second it, excuse me.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Ron Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
The majority of the votes are a yes. Let it reflect that Mr. Shugarts voted no. Anyone else opposed? The motion carries to
Close the public hearing, correct?
Do we close the public hearing first? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if council was thinking they were voting on closing the public hearing or passing the proposed revision, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess my question is, this is, I don't know if this is the right thing to do right this moment. I think that we need to maybe spend a little bit more time on this. Mr. Riggs brought up a great point. I think this goes a little deeper than just what's here. So I don't know if we can table this and come back to this again, because I mean this really covers a lot. This is going to be a major issue for a lot of things. So that's why I did want to close the hearing. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say about that.
Is there anyone else that has anything to say concerning the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance update? Please come to the mic.
Okay, so I agree with Councilman Shugarts.
Can you please
I agree.
state
I'm
your
John
name?
Martin Lugens, 1012 South Topsail Drive. I do agree with Councilman Shugarts. It is important. So I try to stay on top of what I need to stay on top of, being a resident in a coastal area. But I'm not sure I understand all that. I understand what Amy said. So, and I can go online and read more about it.
Understand hypothetically what Amy said.
Hypothetically what Amy said. But perhaps we could have more information, like when you do your planning meeting, would that be discussed more? Or do we need to go and have something to read more about it? Because, you know, there are a lot of people in this room who have vacant lots perhaps near them. I do. It's in the wetlands. It's supposedly going to be built on. How's that going to affect me across the street? I already have issues with water coming from the intersection of South Shore and Seahorse that won't be able to be addressed for at least another year. So yeah, I would like to know more about it. So how would I find out more about it? I mean, is there something I can read, or will there be would there be a meeting that would provide more in-depth information? Or maybe I don't, I just need to do more homework myself.
I'm not saying that I don't agree with what we're trying to get to here. I just think that I'd like to move this a month down the road so we can spend a little bit more time on this. Because after you brought that up, really spending some time on it, like Donna said, I think that this is a little bit more detailed. I think this is going to come back and bite us and cause more issue for us if we don't get it straight the first time. So I don't think it hurts us to move it out a month. That gives us some time to sort through the little questions, so Amy, so it's right for you. So you don't have, we're not coming back to you and causing issues. That's all. So.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak concerning the Coastal Overlay District? Brian?
I think we already voted to close the public hearing, but we heard more, which is fine. I'm just procedurally where we're at now. If we're going to close the public hearing again, I think that vote needs to be taken, and then the next procedural step would be for a motion to approve or no motion at all, or a motion to table but first we need to close the public hearing.
At this time, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Don Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes.
I have a question.
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
You said I could ask a question, didn't you?
Yeah, you're my boss.
To my understanding, this is, if you have your lot at the grade level that it's at originally, this is saying we cannot add more soil to it?
So we did hear this at Planning Board, so just want to make that clear. It has already been heard at Planning Board, but we have no fill limit right now. So if I want to put 20 foot of fill on my lot and I can engineer it and make it work and get back down to the road and do all the things, then theoretically I could do that. This is limiting that ability. So currently when we look at like the grade of the height of the house, because our house height is 48 feet, we look at the adjacent ground. For this ordinance, we would go to the middle of the street. So if your house is lower than the middle of the street, technically, you could potentially bring 3 or 4 feet. If your house is above the street already, then you wouldn't be able to bring in, but up to whatever that thing is. One of the problems that we have on the island is the amount of property that has been built up and drains to our roadways, which causes standing water in the roadways, standing water on other sites. And as I did say earlier in this may not be the end of this conversation because we are currently rewriting our zoning ordinances. And that's why we didn't look at this for the whole town. The majority of the issues that we've had with the fill tend to be on the island and on areas adjacent to marsh and the water. So we looked at the Coastal Forest Overlay District as just kind of a starting point that would allow us to not have free rein for the next 6 to 9 months while we did continue to research it. So it is our intent to continue to research this item. This was not intended to be the next 20-year solution.
So basically, if my property is, it's flat, my neighbor's is flat, and I want to build it up, I build my property up 2.5 feet, 3 feet, and now the rainwater that comes off of my roof goes off my property and into my neighbor's.
Well, that depends. If your
I mean,
property...
that's just what I've seen
Yeah,
in my street where I live. And, you know, one neighbor builds a house, and they build it, and they put 3 feet of fill on it, and now all his water runs off into my other neighbor's, which is already built, so they wind up getting water in the garage.
So we have a compound problem with the scenario you're talking about. If your lot is less than 10,000 square feet and you're a new house, then you're treating the first 1.5 inches in 24 hours through our stormwater ordinances. If you're an older house, you probably are not treating your water and your water is running off. A lot of our lots that are being built now are our lower lots. So previously everything drained to the bottom, and now we're filling those bottoms. Some of the water, yes, is running off of the new house. Some of the water is just that your water's not running off onto that vacant lot anymore. So it is a twofold problem as far as the storm drainage. I think that that portion of it needs to be looked at more significantly. But we do have issues during construction with no silt fence being up while we're trying to maintain, you know, before we can get vegetation maintained or whatnot. We don't have any sediment erosion control measures right now, so that's running off onto the adjacent property. We're getting a lot of complaints about that. So again, this was a Band-Aid, for lack of a better word, to get us fixed and headed in the right direction while we complete that additional research.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak concerning this forest overlay district ordinance? Come.
Jesse Zimmer, 157 Scrub Oaks. Because I was always told that it's a civil matter. If you do, like most new houses take care of their own water, a lot of times more than what's required. But the stuff that Amy's always said is if you do have water that runs over, let's say I have a lot that's real low and someone built it up real high, it's a civil matter, not a town matter, to deal with that.
That is correct. I don't have an ordinance that you're breaking. So it's a site civil. And even with this, we're addressing the fill height. The town can regulate and say you have to treat this much stormwater, and if you're not treating that, if you decide to take all your gutters off and just throw them away, then I can go out and I can fine you $50 a day until you put your gutters back on.
Well, 100% I believe that. You should be able to control your own water that comes on your lot, but what you're doing is limiting because people don't want the water that was running into that lot to continue to run into that lot. So then they have to take care of their own. It's not that you're not taking care of the new ones, it's the older ones that don't have the stormwater.
It is a complex that includes both the water, because you're only treating 1.5 inches in 24 hours, and a lot of our rains are larger than that. So there is runoff coming from you. If there's less than 1.5 inches, then
well,
you are treating your own water.
But then you could also double your stormwater, just your trench system a little bit deeper so that you handle 2 or 3 inches, and you would alleviate that instead of having a lower lot. Now there's not much you can do, so it becomes less valuable.
Theoretically, you can increase the size of your underground storage system. However, we do have high water tables that may limit the size that system can be as well.
That's above my pay grade, but with like engineering, I just know that on the few houses that I did, I doubled the capacity so that it wouldn't have that runoff.
And we appreciate that.
I try. So that's just a question. So
I try.
I'm going to bring some duct tape. I appreciate Ms. Combs' willingness to answer these questions and hypotheticals. Madam Mayor, unless there's anyone else would like to speak at the public hearing, which is designed for the council to receive public input, it would be in order to close the public hearing and then move forward.
All right, so let's try this one more time. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, yes.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries to close the public hearing on the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance Update. At this time, is there a motion to move forward to accept or not accept the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance Update?
I make a motion, we accept it because you folks are going, Joey, I'm looking at you. You folks in the planning board are
Don
going
Helms.
through the more.
You're going to accept without discussion?
Yes, I will.
You made a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
If he'll amend his motion to make it a temporary for 6 months, I'll second.
I'll make that motion.
That'll give him time to work on it.
You'll accept that amendment, so yes, that's an amended motion, and is there a second to that, Mr. Fowler?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion with an amended to follow up in 6 months. Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Helms, yes.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
All those were in favor. We had one no. Let it be known that Jeremy Shugarts did not want to table it. All those opposed? No opposement. So at this time, the motion carries with amendment on the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance Update. Item number 3, we're going to look back at Ms. Combs over here. Special use permit for J.H. Batts boat storage.
Madam Mayor, if I may, since this is one of those quasi-judicial hearings, so This next item is a application for a special use permit. The owner of the property is McDaniel Batts. The property location is 148 J.H. Batts Road, and the proposed project is a RV and boat storage site on 1.5 acres of land. This is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. The applicant has the burden to prove through competent, relevant, and substantial evidence the four criteria in our code of ordinance that allows the issuance of a special use permit. Ms. Kimes, when she presents staff's report, I'm sure you're going to go over those. Quasi-judicial means what you might think it means. It's sort of like a courtroom. We generally follow the rules of evidence, but we don't follow them as strictly as perhaps as a Superior Court judge would. The applicant is entitled to a fair and impartial decision-making body that casts their votes solely on the competent material and relevant evidence we hear tonight. I need to ask a few questions of the board, of the council as a whole, to make sure no one has a fixed opinion they've already got in their mind prior to the hearing starting. So I'll just ask as a whole, does anybody on the council have a financial interest in the subject matter of this SUP application?
No. No.
I realize for purposes of this.
Roll call.
Koloski, no.
Buddy Fowler, no.
Helms, no.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
Hugh Kennedy, no.
Teresa Batts, no.
I realize many of you may know where this actual property is located, so that's not my question for the next question. The next question is, anyone made a site visit to this property for the purposes of assessing this SUP application? And I don't know that we need a roll call. Can we agree that unless you say yes, the answer is no, and that can kind of speed this up a little bit? Okay.
Riding by is not a site visit, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, you may drive by it every single day, but I'm talking about a site visit that you go out there for the purpose, you know this application's on the agenda, and you want to go out there and look at the site for the purposes of assessing this application. So has anyone done that? Okay.
Roll call.
John Koloski, no.
Buddy Fowler, no.
Helms, no.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
Hugh Kennedy, no.
Teresa Batts, no.
Does anyone on the council have either familiar family relationship or a close personal or business relationship with the applicant?
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Koloski, no.
Helms, no.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
Hugh Kennedy, no.
Teresa Batts, no.
Has anyone made or had any what's called ex parte conversations, which means conversations outside of the context of this hearing, with either the applicant or a staff member regarding the subject matter of this application?
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Koloski, no.
Helms, no.
Jeremy Shugarts, no.
I got to answer that in a different way. I think my answer is no.
You care to elaborate, sir?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to try to do. In some training we had with the planning board a while back, this particular application was not brought up, but in a generic stance, something like this coming up, I asked if I would have a conflict of interest because I own a boat storage. Nothing came up specific about this particular thing. I don't think it's changed my mind at all. And the guy basically said, under the rules, no, but there may be a perceived conflict because I own a boat storage.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring that up. I don't think there is a conflict, but I don't want anybody, I want transparency.
All right, let me ask you two questions along those lines then. Was there anything about that conversation that essentially closed your mind one way or the other as to this application?
No, sir.
Is there anything about the fact that, given the nature of your business, that closes your mind one way or the other with respect to this application?
No, sir.
Can you be fair and impartial and base your vote solely on the competent, material, and substantial and relevant evidence adduced during this hearing?
Yes, sir.
I understand that the property owner, Mr. Batts, is here, and I understand that Mr. Riggs is going to serve as one of his witnesses. Is that correct? Mr. Batts, do you have any questions based on what you just heard?
Not really.
Okay. Okay. All right. The way we'll proceed is we'll first hear from staff, who will further introduce the item. Then we will hear from the applicant, and then we will hear from any other party who has standing. All witnesses must first be sworn in, and they will be subject to cross-examination from the other parties, as well as to questions from the board. Unless there's any questions of me, mayor, or council, at this time, I would ask all those who wish to provide testimony in this hearing to either stand up or come forward. How do you want to do it? Stand up? Just stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth under penalty of perjury? So help you God?
I do.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any questions, Madam Mayor or council members?
We open the public hearing before we move forward.
I'm going to ask that she be called first, and then it'll be open that way. If there's no further questions, then I would ask Ms. Kimes to identify herself and present the item on behalf of staff.
Amy Kimes, Town Planner, presenting the J.H. Batts, or McDaniel Batts RV and Boat Storage. The current zoning of this property is in the C3 Extended Entranceway Commercial District. It is located at 148 J.H. Batts Road. The proposed project consists of approximately 1.52 acres of RV and boat storage. The site comprises 2 phases totaling 72 uncovered spaces. The property is bordered on the north, south, and east by C3 zoning and mixed use to the west. Boathouses, boat docks, fishing piers, dry storage, and marinas, dry and wet, commercial, are listed uses in the table of uses. However, commercial recreational vehicle storage is not listed in the table of uses. Boat storage requires a special use permit for approval. Appendix A, Section 8, Special Use Permit defines the approval process for special use permits. The special use permit decision is made by the town council after an evidentiary hearing is held. The town council, in granting the permit, must find that all 4 of the following factors exist. Number 1, that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved by the issuance of the special use permit. Number 2, that the use meets all required conditions and specifications. Number 3, that the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. And number 4, that the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the land use plan and its policy for growth and development as applicable to the town of Surf City. The granting of the special use permit does not approve the site plan. The site plan as submitted will receive additional review by the Technical Review Committee to ensure all town ordinances and standards are met. The proposed site plan requests 2 access points to J.H. Batts Road. However, if the use is approved, the town would request a single access point through the TRC process. Per section 5.12 of Appendix A, the site plan is required to install a sidewalk along the J.H. Batts Road frontage. The Comprehensive Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan also support this requirement by recommending a sidewalk along J.H. Batts Road. The developer is not requesting sewer or water from the town at this time. The site plan shows that the lot's surface area would contain a pervious stone. However, the applicant has placed a non-pervious stone on the site. If the non-pervious stone remains, the applicant will provide a stormwater plan for the site. The applicant will also verify with NCDEQ the requirements pertaining to the state stormwater permit. If NCDEQ does not require a high-density stormwater permit, the applicant will meet Appendix A, Section 5.9 Stormwater Management Plan of the Surf City zoning ordinances. The proposed site plan does not provide an on-street an on-site office or the ability to store items other than boats and RVs. The site will not require parking above the proposed rental parking spaces, as there is an adequate area to park adjacent to each rental space. As per Appendix A, Section 5.11, mini storage facilities, a buffer of dense evergreen trees and shrubs not less than 6 feet in height and of a spread and spacing so as to form a continuous unbroken screen between the storage facility and adjoining property will be placed on all property lines. The comprehensive land use plan shows this area as neighborhood mixed use. Neighborhood mixed use allows for a transition between more intense commercial, office, and residential development to lower density residential neighborhoods, as well as opportunities for strategic low-intensity nodes of commercial activity. The neighborhood mixed use category is primarily dedicated to non-residential uses that provide services, entertainment, and amenities to residents within a 3-mile radius. The future land use category should be composed of a mixture of integrated commercial, office, institutional, and residential uses. The future land use classification is not intended to be solely reserved for mixed-use developments. Single-use developments that contribute toward an integrated land use pattern of appropriate commercial, office, civic, and medium-density residential uses are encouraged. Appropriate uses include neighborhood-scale retail, restaurant, and office establishments, religious and educational institutions, and higher-density single-family duplex and limited townhomes developments. Large-scale or intense commercial establishments, multifamily development, and industrial operations are not appropriate. Building footprints are generally limited to 15,000 square feet in size or smaller. Again, the desired uses are commercial, retail, and office uses that serve existing communities, examples including restaurants, cafes, drugstores, healthcare facilities, professional offices, and retail-oriented uses, single-family duplex and limited townhome developments. Inappropriate uses would be establishments requiring larger surface parking in excess of 20,000 square feet, low-density residential and industrial uses. Implementation considerations are access management, buffering from residential uses, and bicycle and pedestrian connectivity. I'm happy to happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Kimes, would you like to introduce the portion of the agenda related to this SUP application into evidence as Exhibit 1?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Batts, do you have any objections to that? Madam Mayor, I recommend we accept the portion of the agenda packet related to this application into evidence as Exhibit 1 without objection from either party.
Need a motion?
Received.
Just received. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Batts, any cross-examination of Ms. Kimes? Any questions from the board of Ms. Kimes?
I have a question. Cannady, if y'all can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you mentioned in the drawing, it shows the 2 access points. Can't find my drawing right this minute, but in TRC, it would probably request to be a single access point. It seems, I apologize, I can't find the drawing I was looking at earlier, but it seems that, I got it now. If you take away one of those access points, unless I'm misunderstanding what an access point is, it's going to change it'll change the layout of the entire storage area. Is that not correct, or am I missing something?
It could potentially change, it would change the layout. The special use permit is for the use, so there are changes that could be made to the site plan as it went through the TRC process. So we have discussed internally either doing away with one of the driveways to eliminate a conflict point on the roadway, or to have a one-way circulation pattern in there where you pull into one and pull out of the other. So that would still be discussed during the TRC process.
Okay. One other question I had, it was under the section that said desired uses and inappropriate uses. And one of the inappropriate uses was establishments requiring large surface parking in excess of 20,000 square feet. Is this larger than 20,000 square feet?
So the site is larger than 20,000 square feet. The way that I interpret that is that it's actual parking. So this use is storage and not parking. So there is not a parking lot associated with it. It would be the same as if those were enclosed storage units or whatnot. The use is storage. So that was my interpretation of it.
I understand, okay. That was still some of the ambiguity I was trying to clear up. Under the section where it says parking, it says this site is not required parking above the proposed, and it doesn't say storage spaces, it says rental parking spaces. I guess that's part of the confusion I'm running into.
Gotcha.
And my last question would be, where it says the inappropriate, what zone would be, I'm having a hard time concentration, I apologize with this head cold I got. Here it says desired uses, and then there's a section that says inappropriate uses. In what zone would establishments requiring large surface parking in excess of 20,000 feet, what zone would that be in the desired use section?
So if you look at our comprehensive land use plan, the uses in there are different than the zoning. So some of the C3 zoning out near the road, or some of the C3 zoning out near US 17 and NC 210 would be places that would look for those more dense. So this is, in the land use plan, is shown as neighborhood mixed use. In the ordinance, it can all be C3, but it can be different land uses shown on the same basic zonings. I don't have that map in the presentation.
So more like grocery store type stuff,
Yes,
stuff
sir.
you want a grocery store, okay.
Yeah, like we wouldn't want to put a Lowe's there or a Walmart, even though it's zoned by right for a Walmart. We wouldn't necessarily want a Walmart there where or a Lowe's, where the Lowe's at 17 and 210 made more sense.
I realize this way we talk in the real world, but by saying Walmart or
I'm sorry.
Lowe's, you're talking about a big
box store.
It's not anything against that in
No,
particular. Okay.
I'm happy for anybody, all bodies.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I don't like lawyers either.
Okay, I think that answers my questions, thank you.
It is not a parking lot, it is a storage facility.
The way that I see it is that the use is storage, not parking. Therefore, it's not a parking lot.
And I concur with that interpretation. It's not, I mean, I'm not on staff, but.
I asked a question to Amy.
Yes, sir.
Can we require the owner, if he puts up a fence, that the entrance that you're going to use to go into it would have a gate, and it would be recessed further into the property to where for an example, if somebody starts to turn in there, they can be required to be able to get their entire truck, boat, the back of the motor completely off the road
Yes, sir. If they
inside of that property and not be out in the roadway.
Yes, sir. If they have a gate, they cannot block the roadway, so they would have to provide adequate clearance to get.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're about 25 feet from, is that correct? About 25 feet from the road to the gate, right? Which would be, if you have a 22-foot boat and you're pulling in, you're going to sit in the road. I mean, I'm all for business and I'm all for doing this. I'm just saying logically, I want to make sure.
So we have discussed some of these things with Mr. Batts. Mr. Batts was amenable to recessing that gate. The site plan it does not reflect those conversations, but the conversations have been had and it will be addressed in TRC.
As long as it's addressed where somebody comes with a 25-foot boat and you got a truck in front of it.
If you bring your 40-foot boat in, Don, you ain't gonna
I
get it in
don't
there.
have one. That he or she can, when they start to make the turn, they can get completely off the road, because if they do it in the busy part of the year, you've got a lot of traffic on that road, and we need to get them completely off the road. Once they start, they need to get off the road. Is that a requirement that we have addressed with the owner?
We have had conversations with Mr. Batts about that, and he has been amenable to that.
And if I may, we could add that as a condition of approval. If the council's inclined to approve it, you can make that one of the conditions of approval. Mr. Bass, do you have any cross-examination based on the additional testimony Ms. Kimes gave? Thank you, sir. Any further questions of Ms. Kimes? Ms. Kimes, did staff find that any of the, and earlier I may have misspoken, I think I said 4 criteria, I believe it's 6 or 7, right?
There's 4 listed in our ordinance. Yep.
Staff assessed that any of that criteria was not met?
We assess, it's met.
Okay. If there's any further questions, Ms. Kimes?
Ask what the 4 items are.
Let me pull it back up. One, that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved by issuance of the special use permit, that the use meets all required conditions and specifications, that the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity, and the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is located and in general conformity with the land use plan and its policies for growth and development.
There's no further question, Ms. Kimes. We'll now hear from Mr. What's that? Well, as I saw, the only people that were sworn in were Ms. Kimes, Mr. Batts, and Mr. Riggs. So I'm assuming there's no third party. So, Mr. Batts, it's your opportunity now to present your case. If you want to call upon Mr. Riggs as a witness, I would ask that you come to the lectern, introduce yourself, and then call whatever witnesses you would like to call, sir.
My name is McDaniel Batts, and I'd like to call Mr. Charles Riggs as a witness. As my surveyor, he can speak a little bit better on it.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Riggs?
Charles Riggs, 502 New Bridge Street, Jacksonville, North Carolina. I have some information I would like to submit as part of my testimony.
So let me take a look at it first and. Madam Mayor, if I may just consult Ms. Kimes real quick.
Yes, sir.
Marty, is that your jacket? Al, is that Marty's jacket?
Is my packet right?
I have to leave the airport at 6:15. Well, you ain't saying if you leave here in 15 minutes, you.
Oh, you did.
This is my copy for me. Okay.
Are you on these?
Ms. Kimes, staff does not have any objections to receiving this packet of information as Exhibit 2.
I do not.
Madam Mayor, I recommend we accept the packet Mr. Riggs just handed out as Exhibit 2 without any objections. So
Thank you. We will receive it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Riggs?
To proceed, my testimony, it includes agent authorization from Mr. Batts for me to proceed with his project. The second listing within this, or the second paper within this package, is the site plan that you see before you on the board there. It shows, of course, the phasing of this project. 36 spaces in Phase 1, 36 spaces in Phase 2, landscaping, fencing around each phase as we go. In discussion with the driveways, those permits would go through North Carolina Department of Transportation.
That's our road.
I'm sorry?
That's the town street.
Okay, it's been changed then. Okay, well, we would still seek their advice on submittal. And then from there, we would have concrete aprons going into the property, driveway aprons, and there may even be a deceleration lane if it's necessary. The third sheet in here is the tax sheet showing the parcels. If you'll look at that, that shows the mini storage directly behind us. It shows the Gideon's air conditioning business to our east. It shows the trade shops are directly across the street, and they have boat storage there, or storage in some manner. And then it has the residential residents to the west, or to the left. The next submittal contains the zoning of Surf City. This is C3, of course, and our request tonight for the special use permit is necessary for us to get a special use permit with that. It's not by right. Then we have the existing land use map, which shows all the surrounding area that we have is commercial. The next submittal would be the future land use plan map. And it does show this as mixed, neighborhood mixed use. And Ms. Kimes was kind enough to go through and read what's allowed in the neighborhood mixed use. And this would be considered a commercial use that's being, complements the residences within the neighborhood. Then it's important for you to see there's a survey in here for Glenn and Catherine Batts on a tract that is 3 acres to the north, where in December of 2021, a 5-acre tract was granted a special use permit for boat storage and RV storage. And it's important to see that because that is a existing RV and boat storage facility that lies within the neighborhood mixed use category. So we're not asking for anything that doesn't already exist. Next, we have from the Institute of Transportation the common trip generation. And there's not necessarily an exact traffic rating for RV and boat storage, but this is similar to mini storage. And if you look on the chart, you'll see that mini storage has the lowest traffic rates of any business. There had been discussion about coffee shop being placed over there. Well, the coffee shop would generate 200 times more traffic than this boat and RV storage facility. And this is actually generated, this is the 10th edition from the Institute of Transportation. And I've highlighted those, the traffic count for you. Then the next listing, do I need to address that, Mr. Eads, or not? Planning board.
No, sir. I believe the evidence so far is uncontested that staff reviewed the application and that finds it's compliant with the 4 criteria. And that's my understanding that's what you were going to proffer that for, Mr. Riggs?
That's correct. That's correct. Now, let me also say, which I think is very important, is that we have inserted in this package an opinion from a state-certified residential real estate appraiser, Mr. Doyle Evans. So second to the last sheet, you will find where Mr. Evans states, and I'm going to read this so you'll know it. My assignment was to determine if there would be any adverse conditions or effects on the surrounding areas and neighborhood of Pender County tax parcels 4235-34-9541-0000 and 4235-34-8404-0000 located on J.H. Batts Road, formerly NCSR 1612, Surf City, North Carolina, 28445, with the addition of a phased RV and boat storage facility having 36 spaces in Phase 1 and 36 spaces in Phase 2. After visiting the site and viewing the survey, plat, plans, and the Pender County GIS, in my opinion, as a professional real estate broker and state-certified residential real estate appraiser, there will be no adverse effects to the surrounding community with the addition of this RV and boat storage facility. This is a complementary use in the area with trade offices with storage across J.H. Batts Road, a mini storage facility directly adjoining the property, and an RV boat storage facility within 700 feet of the property. And Mr. Evans has signed and sealed that.
Just for the record, Madam Mayor and Council, I don't believe Mr. Evans here, so technically his letter is, in a court of law at least, it would be deemed hearsay. However, I do note that it's sealed. So.
Thank you. And then in response to the 4 items that need to be addressed by council, the proposed RV and storage facility will not endanger the public health or safety as the development of the property will be reviewed, approved, and permitted and construction is supervised by the town of Surf City and any government agencies involved in protecting not only the owners of the property but the adjoining owners and the public. The proposed use is similar to mini storage, and traffic indicates the proposed use has a minimum burden on traffic. The site will be completely fenced, adding to the safety element of the property and adjoining properties. The plan does meet or will meet all the required conditions and specifications, and the site plan process through the technical review and planning board will ensure that all conditions are met, including driveways, landscaping, fencing, state permits, any and all state permits that are required. The use of the property will not substantially injure the value of the property as stated by the appraiser. The character of the neighborhood will not be adversely affected since this property and the adjoining properties are zoned C3, except for the small parcel to the southwest, zoned MU. The uses of the adjoining are residential to the west, mini storage to the north, and parking or storage lot to the east, and wooded or undeveloped to the south. The immediate neighborhood consists of heating and air conditioning business and trade offices with storage. And then again, I did mention that the 5-acre RV park just down the street. RV and boat storage, not park. And it's our opinion that the site is compatible or comparable or complementary with the neighborhood mixed use because there's already an existing RV boat storage within the area. So it does meet all the necessary requirements.
Ask a question. Mr. Riggs, you heard Ms. Kimes earlier, and I think it was Mr. Helms as well, discuss the concept of having a fence recessed far enough back off the property line that would ensure the free flow of traffic, especially in the peak season. What's the applicant's position on that type of condition?
That could certainly be accommodated, yes, sir.
And so the applicant would consent to that type of condition?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Batts, do you agree with that? Okay. That's all I have, Mayor.
In doing consent to a gate, would that remove, it would remove spaces, available spaces, which would be addressed in TRC?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to be a fly in the ointment here. If TRC says we're not mandating a gate, they don't have to do it unless they want to, correct? The configuration.
If council wants the gate for 100%, then it should be a requirement of the special use permit tonight, just in
You
case.
said it better than what I was going to say.
Yes, it is a conversation that we've had. It is the intent, but who knows? So yes, if they want it, it should be a special use tonight.
And the
requirement.
council has that authority to append that type of condition, Madam Mayor and Council. So, Mr. Riggs, while you're up there, if they were so inclined to do that, do you have any comments about that?
I do not see where there's an issue with that. Yes.
Mr. Batts, do you consent? Thank you.
I'm concerned with the safety on that road, Mr. Riggs, because it goes to our Parks and Rec and the community center. It's very heavily traveled on the weekend and as well as in the weekdays. But I would very much want a gated and recessed back so that traffic will be holding up and create a safety issue for those people that's participating and going and coming. So I would like to make that a condition, and make a motion, we make that a condition of the special use permit.
I thought we'd already done that.
There's been no motion to approve or add conditions
I'll
yet.
second his motion now.
Oh, time out, time out.
I haven't moved that far
Well,
yet.
Is there a consensus between staff and the applicant of that distance?
We had talked about 70 to 75 feet is what we had talked about, figuring you've got a 20-foot truck and a 30 to 40-foot trailer by the time you get your boat, your tongue, your motor, and all of that. That was the number that we had talked about initially with Mr. Batts.
May I ask, is that measured from the right-of-way or from the edge of pavement?
Edge of pavement.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
Okay, so it's 75 feet from the edge of the pavement landward into the property is sufficient for staff.
There should be a clear zone of 75 feet between the edge of pavement and the fence.
Okay. And that's sufficient from staff's perspective. Is that correct? All right, Mr. Riggs, does the applicant consent to that?
Yes.
Mr. Batts, do you consent to that? Yes, sir.
When you say edge of fence, do you mean the gate where they actually go into?
So your fence can come like this and then turn like this. So from the gate to the edge of pavement.
So you consent to that, sir? Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Riggs from the board or the council?
Question.
Yes, sir.
The level of the road towards the level of the land, is it level or is the land elevated? You know, like the parking lot or the entrance level? Is it level to the street?
I don't know if I know that exact.
I'm just thinking, is it a hill or is it some sort of,
We would need to make sure that the approach that we just recessed into the gate would be a flat area and not inclined.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Okay, that would be discussed at TRC.
I just think of it as if it's elevated, it creates a.
It needs to be safe, a safe grade. Yes, sir.
Gravity to the road, and vice versa.
And we knew that safety of that road was important. That's why I supplied the additional information regarding the traffic count. I mean, there's not going to be a great deal of traffic in and out of there. There is a great deal of traffic on J.H. Bass Road. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to ask the mayor, I need to be excused
From the hearing?
right now. Yep. Is that possible? Or we vote?
Is it based on a, I don't want to go into closed session to give legal advice, but is it, do you need to leave the building, or you feel like?
The facility, out of here. Yes. So I need permission to do that, or we need to vote, either or.
This would only require a majority vote. Does the applicant have any objections to Mr. Shugarts, Councilman Shugarts, recusing himself from the rest of this proceeding? All right, can we have a motion to excuse Mr. Shugarts?
I'll make a motion, we excuse Jeremy.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Koloski, yes.
Don Helms, yes.
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
Yes.
You don't get a vote.
I'm voting on myself.
All those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, Mr. Shugarts is excused from the meeting.
Madam Clerk, let the minutes reflect that upon due motion and vote, Mr. Shugarts has been excused from these proceedings and that the applicant has consented to his recusal. Therefore, his failure to vote will not be counted as an affirmative vote since he was part of the quorum to start the entire meeting off. Anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Batts? Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Riggs? Any other evidence, Mr. Batts, you'd like to put on?
He just asked about the elevation.
Yes, sir. Please come to the lectern if you would.
Just real quick, I will say, I mean, if you look at the property, you can see that we're about level with the road. You can look at my adjacent property at the Gideon's one that they did. They're about a little over 2 foot higher than we are. So we're actually dealing with some of the problems coming off of them because we were trying to keep level with the road. So that's, I know he probably didn't know that exactly. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Batts. All right, Madam Mayor, before we move on to a potential vote to approve or deny, I want to make sure that I'm clear about the conditions we discussed in the event the board's inclined to add that condition. So it would be 75 feet from the edge of the pavement from what road, Miss?
J.H. Batts Road, from J.H. Batts Road.
That 75 feet would be from the edge of the pavement of that road to the front of the
The gate.
entrance
To
gate?
the location of the entrance gate, yes, sir.
Mr. Riggs, is that your understanding? Mr. Batts? So you both consent to that if the board's inclined to approve on that condition? Okay, thank you. Madam Mayor, we can do it one of two ways at this point. We can recess the evidentiary hearing and begin a motion and deliberations, or we can go ahead and close it. Sometimes you might want to recess it in case questions come up during the deliberation, so I'll defer to you on that.
We'll have a motion to recess the hearing.
I'll make a motion, we recess the hearing.
I will second that.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Don Helms, yes.
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion to recess is now served.
I just say this, Madam Mayor, this is unlike a variance or an appeal of staff decision. Under North Carolina law, if the applicant comes forward and meets the burden of producing uncontroverted evidence that the standards are met, they are entitled to the issuance of the permit with the understanding that the council or elected body can append conditions to that approval. If I understood Ms. Kimes' testimony, staff felt the conditions had been met, And if I understood the applicant's presentation of evidence, by and large through Mr. Riggs, they put on evidence that the 4 criteria have been met, and they have also consented to the condition of having off of J.H. Batts Road 70 foot from the edge of pavement to the front of the gate entranceway.
75?
75 foot. What did I say?
70?
70.
75, sorry.
I'm sorry, yes.
No, I'm not. I'm just waiting to see if there's a motion.
Looking at me.
Can we make a motion to approve it with all those?
That condition, yes, sir.
Yes, with all those conditions. I make a motion, we approve it with all the conditions.
I'll second it.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Koloski, yes.
John Helms, yes.
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
At this point, we can go ahead and close the quasi-judicial hearing since that motion concludes the need for it.
I make a motion, we close it.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
John Helms, yes.
Kennedy, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion to close public hearing. Our next item, special use permit 412 Roland Avenue, motorized watercraft rental.
Madam Chair, again, Madam Mayor, again, this is a application for a modification or amendment to an existing special use permit for the property located, as you indicated, at 412 Roland Avenue. The applicant, is my understanding, is being represented by Miss Amy Schaefer, who is a licensed North Carolina attorney in good standing. The proposed project or proposed amendment pertains to motorized watercraft rentals in excess of 10. Am I saying that correctly, Ms. Schaefer? Okay. Ms. Schaefer, you and I have been through a few of these together in the past, so I don't have to go through all of the nature of the quasi-judicial hearing. On behalf of your client, will you consent that that same concept applies to this quasi-judicial hearing? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Madam Mayor, I need to ask those same questions for this application. So I will ask, does anyone have a financial, well, one other thing, Ms. Schaefer, do you consent to the excusal/recusal of Mr. Shugarts and therefore his failure to vote, since he was here when the quorum was met, does not constitute as an affirmative vote? He's just excused from voting. Yes. So on behalf of your client, you consent to that? Yes. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Madam Mayor and Council, does anyone have a financial interest in the subject matter of this SUP modification application?
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Koloski, no.
John Helms, no.
Hugh Kennedy, no.
All right, again.
Is the financial with the Hopkins or with Freedom Boat?
I would defer to Mr. Eads. I think it would be Hopkins, as they're the property owner and the special use permit applies to them. But if there's any known bias, we would ask that to be disclosed. But the financial, I would assume that would be Hopkins. Mr. Eads, is that?
Yeah, well, technically, they're trustees of a trust, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So.
I just want it to be known that a broker agent in my real estate firm has this property listed for sale.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, in the event you are called upon to vote, if there is a tie, do you believe that fact would prevent you from being fair and impartial and preclude you from voting solely on the competent evidence that's produced during this hearing?
I can be fair and impartial.
Okay. Ms. Schaefer, I'll give you an opportunity for that limited subject matter to ask the mayor questions if you're not comfortable.
We're comfortable with her response. If I may just consult with the other applicant agents.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I thank you for that disclosure, Madam Mayor.
The other applicant agents have no concern with Mayor Batts and her ability to be impartial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question. Again, I'm confident most of you, if not all of you, have been by this site, know where this site is. But have any of you been to the site for the purposes of assessing this application?
Buddy Fowler, no.
Koloski, no.
John Helms, no.
Hugh Cannady, no.
Has anyone had any ex parte conversations with either anyone acting on behalf of the applicant or staff related to the subject matter of this SUP modification application?
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Koloski, no.
John Helms, no.
Hugh Cannady, no.
Mayor, I realize you disclosed a potential business relationship, but other than that, does anyone have a close family, business, or personal relationship with the applicants?
John Koloski, no.
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Helms, no.
Can any of you think of any reason that would prevent you from being fair and impartial and base your vote solely on the competent material and relevant evidence that's produced during this hearing?
John Koloski, no.
Buddy Fowler, no.
John Helms, no.
Hugh Cannady, no. Hey, I didn't get to answer that last one. I think I know one of the Hopkins. I know a Ty Hopkins. I don't know if that's him or not. He's one of my neighbors, but we don't have any kind of financial things or any business interest together.
If it is that...
Your Honor, Surf City is such a small town. I can't imagine I would ever bring anything that somebody doesn't know somebody. So we don't have any objection to that. Thank you for disclosing, though.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, and Ms. Schaefer. Just like last time, we will go forward first with hearing from staff through Ms. Kimes, who will introduce the item. That we will then hear from the applicant and any other party that's sworn in. All witnesses who wish to provide testimony must first be sworn in, with the exception of Ms. Schaefer. As an officer of the court in these type of proceedings, she's always under oath. All witnesses will be subject to cross-examination and questions from the board, and the applicant has the burden of proof to meet the criteria that Ms. Kimes will again share with us in this hearing. So I would ask all those who wish to provide testimony to please stand and raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, on the pain of perjury?
Yes, I do.
All right, so unless there's any questions, Madam Mayor, from you or the other council members, we'll proceed with hearing from Ms. Kimes.
The subject site is currently known as the Topsail Island Marina. This marina was originally approved by CAMA as a part of a larger development. Since then, the development has been split, with the current property retaining 15 permitted boat slips, a fueling area, parking, an office building restroom facility, and a large grassed area. In 2017, a special use permit was issued to allow 8 of the 15 slips to be used as motorized watercraft rentals. In 2022, the applicant requested to increase the original special use permit to 15 motorized watercraft rentals with an option of up to 25 upon CAMA permit approval. The special use permit was issued in October of 2022, allowing for up to 15 motorized watercraft rentals, which encompassed all of the existing slips. At the time, the applicant stated a CAMA permit modification was being requested, and that if received, a modification to the special use permit would be requested. On July 25th, 2023, the applicant received approval from CAMA to increase the number of boats utilizing the existing dockage from 15 to 25. The permit authorizes the uses located in or over the water that are expressly and specifically set forth in the permit application. No other structures, whether floating or stationary, shall become a permanent part of this marina without permanent modifications. No non-water dependent uses of the structure shall be conducted on, in, or over public trust waters without permit modification. The applicant is requesting an additional 10 motorized watercraft rental spaces. The attached map shows the location of the new slips as designated by CAMA. Double stacking of boats will occur on 11 of the previous slips. The new layout also removes the previous slip from adjacent to the fuel pump area. The property is located within the C1 Central Business District with no other adjacent zonings. Motorized watercraft rentals of more than 10 units is included in the table of uses as requiring a special use permit. Appendix A, Section 4.1.12.2b states that the use is required to meet the requirements of motorized watercraft rentals of 10 units or less and follow the special use process. The requirements of motorized watercraft rentals of 10 units or less can be found in Appendix A, Section 5.19, and include the below requirements. The maximum number of recreational boats or personal watercraft governed by this ordinance on any given parcel will not exceed 10 units. Personal watercraft used as the tour guide will not be considered in the number. If the business is operating in a marina, privately owned boats as well as cruise excursion dinner boats do not apply to this count. One parking space shall be provided per rental unit. In the case of multi-tenant sites, parking shall be designated. No business shall be operated within 100 feet of any property used for residential purpose. Public restroom facilities must be available. If portable toilets are used, they must be secured to prevent them from becoming windblown. Site plan must be provided to and approved by the town planner prior to commencement of business. Submitted site plan should show the entire site, but in the case of a multi-tenant site, may show improvements only to the areas designated as used by the rental company. Signage shall meet the requirements of Section 6 of Appendix A, and up to 2 recreational boat, personal watercraft trailers may be kept on the site at any given time. Appendix A, Section 8 of the special use permit defines the approval process for special use permits. The special use permit decision is made by town council after an evidentiary hearing is held. The ordinance requires that the town council, in granting the permit, must find that all 4 of the following factors exist. Number 1, that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved by the issuance of the special use permit. That the use meets all required conditions and specifications. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. And lastly, that the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the land use plan and its policies for growth and development as applicable to the town of Surf City. The marina is an existing site with 2 access points located on Roland Avenue. The current site houses up to 15 boats, including privately owned and rental boats and a tour boat company. Though the vehicular traffic associated with the marina is low, there will be an increase in traffic due to the increase in the number of boats associated with the marina. Roland Avenue was completed as a complete street project as a part of the bridge replacement. This project created the pedestrian facilities along Roland Avenue. The development is not requesting any changes to public utilities as a part of this application. The marina was brought into compliance with the fire department as a part of the 2022 special use permit process. The site plan as submitted does not propose any additional non-pervious area. Additional parking areas will be established utilizing a pervious stone. The existing site provides 27 parking spaces. The applicant proposes to provide 6 additional parking spaces to bring the total to 33. Per the ordinance, the site is required to have a minimum of 25 parking spaces. The ordinance allows for up to 2 boat trailers to remain on site. These trailers will be parked in the grassed area and are not a part of the parking area. The applicant proposes adding 6 wax myrtles or similar trees to meet the town's tree requirements. The comprehensive land use plan shows this area as Island Town Center. The language below defines this area and includes examples of desired and undesired uses. The town center future land use category is intended to serve as the central business district that supports permanent and seasonal population, as well as day trippers to Surf City's beaches. Restaurants, cafes, food markets, and limited retail establishments that are compatible with the character of Surf City are supported. Additional food service offerings have been identified as a highly desirable land use in the town center based on public input. Adequate buffering should be applied where development within the land use category abuts residential uses. Examples of the desired uses include commercial retail, especially locally owned small business and restaurants, office and institutional, government, mixed use, and water-based commercial and recreation. Examples of undesired uses would include industrial manufacturing and big box retail, replacement of commercial with standalone residential. Implementation considerations are the management of impacts from commercial uses on residential properties, inclusion of bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and future development of the town's urban waterfront. Happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Combs, would you like to introduce into evidence the portions of the agenda packet related to this SUP modification application?
Yes, sir.
Any objections, Ms. Schaefer? Madam Mayor, I recommend we accept as Exhibit 1 the portions of the agenda packet related to this application without objection.
Yes, sir.
Any questions of Ms. Kimes from the board?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's not for Amy, though. It would be for our fire marshal. I just wanted to see if we verify, has our fire marshal been out to this site? If we're extending this to 25 boats, do we have the proper fire apparatus to handle a situation should it arise?
Fire marshal, to my knowledge, hadn't been sworn in, so if we're going to have him come up as a witness, we need to swear him in. But Ms. Kimes, do you know the answer to the question? Has the fire department provided any input?
The fire department provided input initially. There is no changes to the structure that is out there. The dock length does not change.
Yes, but we're increasing the boats, correct?
Yes, sir.
So increasing the boats, you're increasing the amount of gasoline. I mean, I'm just saying, you know. I just was wondering if there's proper support there in case of a catastrophe.
Yes, sir. If you would, please stand and raise your right hand. I don't think I've ever repeated this oath the same way twice, so do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury? I do. Okay, if you would, sir, please approach the lectern, identify yourself, and I believe there's some questions for you.
Jonathan Burton, Town of Surf City Fire Marshal.
Question is, John, if you have been out to that site or are familiar with that site, is the fact that we're increasing that to 25 boats from 15, is there enough apparatus or any apparatus there to be able to handle anything that would happen that would be a catastrophe?
That's a good question, Mr. Koloski. Currently, that dock system is equipped with a dry standpipe system and a FDC for the fire pumper to tie in case of fire, and it is also equipped fairly heavily with large fire extinguishers mounted to the dock system. We verified that and the hydro testing prior to the initial special use permit.
So the effect that there's 25, total of 25 boats doesn't really make any difference because we have enough?
I think what the applicant is wanting to do is just double stack in each slip. They're wider than the average slip, and unless I'm ill-informed, there's no change to the physical characteristic of the dock, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any across, Ms. Schaefer? Hold on, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schaefer, any cross of Ms. Kimes?
No, sir.
Any other board questions of Ms. Kimes?
I have a question, Cannady. I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about when we say double stacking. Are they stacking the boats side by side or bow to stern, making them too deep on the finger?
My understanding is bow to stern. if you can see our screen right now, Mr. Kennedy, the site
I've
plan
got
is
a
up there.
packet.
So
See, I've
there's,
got a packet that I'm looking at, but I can't find that picture. I see the one that was in purple.
What page is it on, Carla? You know what page it's on?
You don't have any.
so,
Oh, wait a minute. I got it right here. I just found it. Thank you.
right, so Mr. Kennedy, if you look, it's, number 1 is by itself, and then where the big boat is, that will now be 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5, so they are bow to stern.
Yeah, I see that now. Thank you. The follow-up question on that, is there an established length of what the boats will be as far as how far they're going to, I know, I see that great big one hanging off the end of that finger pretty good, but I don't know if you could, I don't know the length of the finger piers, but if you took two 25-foot boats, I don't know that you could, I don't know how secure it would be. Is there a set length of the size boats we're talking about?
We can let the applicant through Ms. Schaefer address that. Ms. Schaefer, would you like to address that? Mr. Kane?
Mr. Cannady, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure. It's my understanding that the boats won't always be double stacked. It will depend on the size of the boats and the fingers. And Mr. Hollenbach is here. He's the operator, so if you need more details, he can definitely answer that. But this is just the ability under CAMA to double stack, but of course it will depend on the size of the boat at any slip at any given time.
Understood.
May I ask a question? What is the depth of the water, and what's the width of the depth of the water there?
I don't know. I know that CAMA did approve this request, and CAMA reviewed all of that. We've submitted our CAMA permit. We do have Mr. Schuler here from Paramount Engineering, who drafted our site plan. So we're happy to go through our presentation and answer some of these questions as best we can. If you wanted us to start.
My concern would be the fact that if we double stack them stern to stern, or stern to step, whatever, that it's going to stick out in the waterway. We've got another facility over there with boats coming and going all the time, and we'd only have so far width that we can play with that has deep water that boats can go and come in. And I see that as being a safety issue, and that's why I was asking that question.
Yes, sir. And again, I'll look to them if I misspeak to correct me, please. But my understanding is that's all part of what CAMA looked at in the review process. So we were here last year, and we did tell you that we were going to ask CAMA to come out and look at it to see if we could double stack the boats. Our marine engineer, CAMA, reviewed the process, reviewed the application, reviewed the marina itself, and did approve it for the 25 boats at the double stacking as we've presented. So I would proffer to the council that CAMA wouldn't have approved that if the water depths weren't sufficient and if they had any concern over safety issues.
Does the way that they're stacked, do you have, it looks like here, you are getting from the deck directly to a boat. Are you getting, if they are double stacked in different scenarios, I could see you jumping from dock to boat to another boat.
For operational, if I may ask Mr. Hollenbach, and he was sworn.
So no, our procedures are not to allow.
Sir, if you would, come up to the lectern.
Do I need to state my name? Okay, Zach Hollenbach. So no, the configuration and our usage would be to only ever have staff and members entering and exiting boats from dock to boat directly, not boat to boat to boat.
Is that, and I'm sorry, could you identify, I know you gave me your name, but who you're with and your
Sure.
Your full resume, just kind of your qualification.
132 May Drive, Hampstead, North Carolina. I'm the local owner-operator for Freedom Boat Club.
Okay. And are you familiar with the CAMA permit issued authorizing this proposed amendment? Does that, during the application process for that CAMA permit, were these type of things addressed, like how, if there's stem to stern,
Yes,
two in one dock, what's allowed and what's prohibited? For instance, you have to get on each, be able to get on each boat from a dock, not go on one boat go up to the bow of it, jump over to the stern of the boat in front of it, that type of thing?
Correct, for the most part. Not necessarily that specific example, but yes. The length of proposed boats, the ability or inability rather to create any access issues for anybody else on the waterway or infringement on riparian rights, anything like that, that was covered during the camera permit.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Who does the jumping? The client?
Or
one of your employees?
There's no jumping. All access is done directly from dock to boat.
My question was, is that something that the camera permit prohibits? And your answer is that...
That specific question is not addressed in the camera permit. No.
But as it's configured, each boat will be accessible from the dock. You won't have to get on one boat
Get to another.
Right.
That's what I was
Yes.
trying to clarify. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big no-no for insurance. Slip, trips, and falls, number one claim.
What is the current length of the dock?
It varies between, most of them are 40-foot. There are some 30-foot slips there.
What restrictions did CAMA apply, if any, on what size boats could be stacked?
Only that the overall length does not infringe upon the riparian corridor.
And what length did they determine that would be?
I could not tell you off the top of my head.
Does anyone know the length? I mean, madam, do you know the length?
I'm sorry. Are you asking, do I know the length to the riparian corridor?
Do you know the length that the two boats can be to proceed out into that inlet or the waterway there so it wouldn't infringe on other motorcraft coming through there?
I do not, but we have submitted the CAMA permit to the city, and it is part of the packet. So all of the CAMA requirements and restrictions are in that permit. And we would have to comply with all CAMA requirements. So if anybody was violating a CAMA restriction or a CAMA requirement, CAMA would come out and probably cite us for violation and possibly revoke our permit.
I have a question. In the CAMA permit, Amy?
Yes, sir.
Is there any type of depth survey for that whole area, from shore to middle of the little bay there? I only say it because I know that these waterways around here, like where I live, right off the edge of my dock, it's a foot at low tide and 3 feet at high. And
So it says see attached sheet. So I have that the permit authorizes, so it is in your packet. The permit authorizes a maximum of 25 formalized boat slips located as shown on the drawing labeled sheet 2 of 2, which is this drawing in front of you tonight. The docking of vessels at any location not shown on the permitted drawings may be considered a violation of this permit. The permit authorizes only the uses located in or over the water that are expressly and specifically set forth in the permit application. No other structures, whether floating or stationary, shall become a permanent part of the marina without permanent modification. No non-water dependent uses of structures shall be conducted on, in, or over public trust waters without permit modification. And then no sewage, whether treated or untreated, shall be discharged. The permittee shall install and maintain at his expense any signal lights or signals prescribed by the United States Coast Guard. No attempt shall be made by the permittee to prevent the full and free use of the public. No attempt shall be made by the permittee to prevent the full and free use by the public of all navigable waters at or adjacent to the authorized work. The authorized structure and associated activity shall not cause an unacceptable interference with navigation and shall not exceed the dimensions shown on the attached permit drawing. However, I don't see true dimensions on the attached permit drawing.
that was my question.
I believe at the end of the docks, it is about 7 foot at mean water. So
Is that your opinion, or is that a survey done by a water survey person?
I know that they came out, when we measured it ourselves, it was about 7 feet.
And that's
So
how far around the area that you're putting these boats? I mean, I know it's right off the edge of the dock, but this number 1 is off to the left. Number 11 and 10 is sort of, that way to the middle.
So-
I'm just trying to get an idea, because I know when the tide goes out here, we have our king tides, but then we have our, I don't know what they call them, but they're low, and then they are low.
So we had a separate expert who deals with CAMA permits and the marina help us with the CAMA permit and the review, and he would probably know all of the answers to the questions that you all are asking tonight. We did not have them here because we had the CAMA permit, and our understanding of the ordinance was that if we met those requirements, then and we met all the other requirements of the code, then that was kind of extra. So we didn't ask him to be here tonight because, again, that would have all been reviewed as part of the CAMA permitting process.
I come back to some of the same things Mr. Koloski said, but what I said originally. I'm concerned about the width of the channel that allow 2.5 feet of draft for a boat coming and going, which is usually typical for an 18, 19-foot boat. And that channel, from what I gather and what I can remember, I can't see that channel being 70 to 80 feet wide with that depth in it. That's why I'm asking that question, because that would pose a safety issue again with boats coming and going and passing with double stack there, because you're taking up part of the deep water area, and you're not leaving that much area for navigational purposes for these other boats. Because nobody can tell me the distance right now. I've asked the distance of that deep water in there.
Are you asking when our vessels are underway in the channel, or while
I'm
they are
asking
docked?
when they're sitting there stationary.
So our vessels are between 17 and 24 foot. Nothing that we have exceeds that mark right now.
I
And
think
so
the
for-
camera permit allows you 40 feet, is that correct? You said your docks are out there 40 feet?
Yes, sir.
So that's what we're talking about, and beyond that.
Yeah, so we would not put 15 feet of vessel out beyond the dock. That would operationally be a hazard, obviously, and then
But it
it's-
also violates your camera permit too.
Yes.
It would just be nice, I'm sorry, it would just be nice to know that somebody has looked into the depth of this water in that area. Not just you guys, I mean, somebody that's going to stamp it, going to show it that that's, yes, we surveyed it. We can guarantee that there's this much water or this much area from the edge of the dock where the stern of the boat is.
And that was performed as part of the CAMA permit application process. They came out and conducted that survey.
But what I'm saying, is it listed anywhere? Is it documented? I mean, you're telling me that they approved your permit on all these other things, but the one thing I did not hear was depth of the water. That's all I'm asking. I've got a boat here, and let me tell you, sometimes when the tide's low, it's pretty tough to get around.
That would have all been part of the CAMA permit application. We did not provide that as part of our request. We just provided the actual CAMA permit approval. So if that's something that the council absolutely needs to make their decision, and you feel that that's a requirement of your code, we can work on getting that to you, but we would probably need a continuance in order to get you that information.
I don't know if it's a part of our code, but I would be interested to see it. It would make.
I have a follow-up that's along the same lines, if I can. If I'm looking at the right document here, I think I'm looking at the permit. It's number 6. It says the authorized structure and associated activities shall not cause an unacceptable interference with navigation and shall not exceed the dimensions shown on the attached permit drawing.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Who determines what's unacceptable and how far outside are we on which drawing we're looking at?
CAMA would determine that, and as Mr. Hollenbaugh said, that would be a violation of our CAMA permit if that ever occurred.
Well, how does Mr. Hollenbaugh know when he's crossed that line, or how does he know how to stay within what bounds so he doesn't get jammed up by CAMA?
Let me pull up that condition. So I'm looking at it as you are.
I think that'll kind of answer what everybody's asking, if we can come up with an answer.
Sure. So, and I think Mr. Hollenbaugh kind of answered that in that the length of the slips, the size of the boats, and the stacking. So let me have him kind of walk you through again the length of the slips, the length of the boats, how they get stacked.
Sure. So, again, our vessels are between 17 and 24 feet. They typically have a beam of 8. The slips are between 40 and 30 foot for the small ones at the right side of the marina. The slips themselves are 12 or 16 feet, depending on which size. And so for us to put 2 boats along one of those finger piers is very easy to accomplish without them sticking out unnecessarily into the waterway. In fact, everything that you see there on that satellite photo are from previous versions of vessels that have been docked there and are, in my opinion, much further out from where we would be. So for us to try and adequately secure a vessel and have a substantial amount of it hanging out past the end of those finger docks is not something that we can do, nor would we do. If anything, they can fit in the finger dock bow to bow and have a little bit of an overlap in order to accomplish that and still remain within the entire footprint of that marina space.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a plausible idea, but I still am falling short on how do we know when you're in violation if it just says unacceptable?
I'll chime in. This is Brian Eads. Since it's a CAMA permit, CAMA is the arbiter of making that determination. The first part of Condition 6. The second part of Condition 6 does state something that's objective and shall not exceed the dimensions shown on the attached permit drawings. So you would look at the permit drawings, measure the structure, and if it exceeds those dimensions, then that violates at least the second part of Condition 6. But as far as to unacceptable interference, I would say since CAMA is the agency that issued this permit, they would be the agency to make that determination. But if the second part of that's violated, I think it violates the whole conditions. I see Ms. Schaefer has stood up and approached. Ms. Schaefer, do you want to add, take away, refute?
No, sir. Just, again, as Mr. Hollenbaugh pointed out, there are, on this aerial, and I'm not exactly, there are boats that are longer than what we're asking for and what we would have. And so while the city zoning code does regulate marinas and does regulate the number of slips we're permitted to have, CAMA regulates the waterway and the use thereof. So we would be under their jurisdiction for any violations of the use of the water.
Okay. My question from the beginning, and I've heard space, distance, how you're going to tie the boats up, but nobody has answered my question. My question is, how deep is the water?
I don't know. And
Well, that's something that I would like to know before I make my decision. Because, you know, you've got these boats in there. You're going to be in and out. You're going to be going back and forth. And if the canal isn't wide enough or the canal's not deep enough at dead low tide, this is a potential problem. And we're agreeing on what you want to do. And if we agree on something and we have a potential problem because nobody has taken the time to check the depth of the water, I mean, that's just, call me fluky, but that's my question.
Yes, sir.
And I keep hearing the distance and the tying up and all, and that's great.
Sure.
The surface distance for the docks and depth of water. That's my only question.
Yes, sir. And I do not know, and I don't want to misspeak. I will say it was part of our CAMA permit application.
Well, I'd like to see somebody survey the water depth. Somebody that's certified that can verify that, yes, that water is this many feet out, this deep, and it goes deeper, or shallow, or what the sides are, you know, how much distance do you really have to get through that for 2 boats at one time, at low tide?
I understand, sir. Thank you.
Would the applicant be willing to continue this until next month and get some reports on the depth of the water? Would you also be willing to show on a drone video or another photography the way the boats would be stacked? So you max it out. You show us 25 You show us your 25.
I can provide an example, maybe not 25 in whole, but yes.
Yeah, just show us 25 and show us like a line where the water depth is, and show us how we're not hopping from one boat to another boat to access those. Would you be willing to do that?
I'm looking at my engineer to make sure that's something that they can do. He's good. So, yes, ma'am, that's something we can provide. And again, we'll consult with our engineer that did the CAMA permit to get the water depths and see if we can't get his stamped surveys.
And just for clarification, are we talking about a rendition, or are we talking about almost like a as-built showing actual boats tied up? I just want to make sure I understand my client's expectation of what y'all are bringing back, so we're not
Great question.
doing a boomerang again, you know?
Yes.
So
I think it would be really easy to find 25 boats that you could pull in those slips and like just do a quick drone video.
I do not have the lease for all of those slips, but I will certainly show you an example of what we can do with the slips that we currently lease.
With actual boats or
Actual
a
boats.
rendition? Okay.
With our boats.
Your engineer appears to be.
Can you just state your name?
I'm Brad Schuler with Paramount Engineering. I can produce an image that is not of actual boats, but it would be a scale drawing of what his typical boats are with the scale drawing of the marina, and so you can see what it would look like if 25 boats were parked there.
Is that are you gonna be able to give the depth of the channel at the same time, along with what you got from the engineer that you didn't bring, that would have the depth of what John's looking for, of the channel, low tide, with two boats sitting there, is what he's trying to get at, so we don't have a problem with people calling us complaining, and we have an engineering stamp with the diagram that you said you would present, that we're covered. We cover all the bases and
How about
one time.
How about we do this? We'll get you the pictures Mr. Hollenbaugh said we can get, showing the actual boats, but then we'll also ask Mr. Schuler to go through and render his drawing, and we'll get up with Davy Engineering, who did our CAMA permit, to try to get their stamp sealed water depths, and we'll also see if we can't get those stamp sealed water depths. He won't seal Mr. Schuler's site plan, but we can try to show you on that plan where those are.
If you can I mean, and I'm not speaking for the council, but based on these questions, the more detail you can show, the better, because that could be made a condition of a potential motion for approval. So if you could superimpose the water depth lines and things of that nature. Still not clear to me whether we're going to have actual boats or a rendition of boats.
We're going to try to have both.
Okay, all right. But I just think the more detail you can superimpose on the drawing, so you can actually see how it all interplays, the clearer the answer to these questions will be.
Absolutely.
And I hope, if the council disagrees with that, please let me know. Like I said, I don't want to keep.
So follow that line of thought, I'd like to make a motion that we convene this later, continue it. After you bring the information back and present it to us, because we're all concerned with the safety as well as you. I know you are.
And that motion is with the applicant's consent, correct, Ms. Schaefer?
Yes, sir. Can we do that to a date certain of your next meeting?
December 5th?
Yes, thank you.
So the motion would be pursuant to the consent of the applicant, that we recess this public hearing to reconvene on December 5th.
May I approach Mr. Eads just quickly?
Absolutely. It would make this part of old business. Yeah, I'll make that clear too. Ms. Schaefer brings up a good point. Since we've already started this hearing, it's a quasi-judicial hearing, we need to make sure the council, as it's presently constituted tonight, is the one that resumes that hearing. So it would need to be on the old business portion of the December meeting before the organizational meeting, organizational part of that meeting. Just so we're clear on that.
This board would sit
Yes.
as we are right now.
And
Okay with that?
if this is not fun enough, I guess Mr. Shugarts would remain recused since he didn't hear this part of the evidence, so.
Hey, will I be able to be in chambers, or I got to be on Zoom again?
Well, wait, do you want to be on Zoom first? Let it, you know.
No, I don't. I'm ready to get over this COVID thing, I tell you.
Yeah, you can be here. I just, it is a good point. This is not a legislative hearing, it's a quasi-judicial, so the same decision makers need to hear the rest of the evidence.
And I apologize if you all weren't planning on being here for that. But I did want to make sure that we get you the information that you're requesting and that you need.
So with that understanding, is there a motion to recess this hearing to reconvene on the December 5th council regular scheduled meeting during the old business portion of that agenda? Did you get that?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Ron Helms, yes.
Hugh Cannady, yes.
All those that oppose, same sign. Motion to continue to the December 5th under old business is approved.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer.
All right, we're going to move here very quickly, as we've been doing all night, to new business. Site plan and subdivision review, Dune Ridge. This requires a certain action requested. It is requested that town answer consider approval for the site plan as presented, and Amy Combs will proceed.
Still me. So this property is currently known as the Hines Trailer Park and came into existence prior to 1977. And I say prior to 1977 because that was the earliest record I could find in our files. Based on historical aerials, units located on Track 2 of the park were removed between 2003 and 2008, with Tracks 1, 3, and 4 remaining occupied. In your packet is a map showing the location and the zoning. If you'll note on that map, which is also on the screen, the portion being rezoned or requested to be rezoned is the mixed-use portion. The portion out here, R5, is wetlands and whatnot and is not a part of this rezoning request tonight. On behalf of KJ Steinhoff, Mr. Riggs has requested a site plan and subdivision approval to redevelop the Hines Trailer Park into a single-family and townhome subdivision. The new development will consist of 11 single-family homes located on the ocean front and along the new Dune Ridge Court. Tracks 2 through 4 will consist of 19 duplex units. The development will consist of 49 new dwelling units. The proposed development will receive a driveway permit from NCDOT for Tract 4, which accesses North New River Drive. Tracks 1 through 3 access Town of Surf City streets. Tracks 2 and 3 will have access along Shell Road only. Individual unit access will not be allowed for the townhomes. A common driveway will be utilized for each of the 3 townhome tracks. All single-family lots will access the proposed Dune Ridge Court and will not have access to North Topsail Drive. The original park held approximately 50 units. However, the park has been home to less than 30 units over the past few years. The expected increase in traffic would not require any roadway improvements. Town ordinances require residential development of more than 3 lots and/or units to provide sidewalk. The proposed development is also located within the project limits of the East Coast Greenway feasibility study. The applicant proposes a multi-use path along Shell Road, which is the desired location of the East Coast Greenway. The Greenway would follow North New River Road from the northern town limit, turn on Shell Road, and then turn onto North Shore Drive. Tract 4 will provide a sidewalk along the western side of North New River Drive, while Tract 3 will provide a sidewalk on the eastern side of North New River Drive. Tract 3 will also provide a sidewalk on the western side of Shell Road. Tract 2 will provide the multi-use path along Shell Road and the sidewalk along North Topsail Drive. Finally, Tract 4 will provide a sidewalk along Dune Ridge Court's north side and Sunrise Court's east side. The site proposes a 5-foot public and private beach and sound access along the northern boundary. This development will be serviced by town sewer and water. The existing infrastructure will be removed. New sewer and water lines will be placed in accordance with current standards. Additional fire hydrants will also be placed to meet current standards. The applicant is working with the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for a redevelopment permit pertaining to stormwater. Based on historical aerials, the agency will not require a high-density stormwater permit. However, the town will require the roof structure of residential lots of less than 10,000 square feet and townhomes to be treated. CAMA and NCDEQ permits will be issued for this project prior to the start of construction. The site will be required to meet the parking standards of the ordinance for each housing density. The site plan notes the setback requirements outlined in the mixed-use ordinance and provides a property buffer along property lines. The development will consist of roads that are built to town standards, so we will be building a new road in this section. The development will provide roadway width and turn radii to accommodate the town's fire apparatus. The 2022 Comprehensive Land Use Plan defines this area as island transitional. The purpose of the island transitional future land use category is to provide limited commercial services to the seasonal and permanent overnight population of the town while maintaining the overall residential nature of many pockets of the island portion of Sur City. Opportunities to allow residents the option to access low-profile commercial and office institutional services near their homes is encouraged. So on our list of example desired uses, we do have single-family residential units as well as two-family residential units, which is what they are requesting. The item was heard at the October 12th, 2023 meeting. The Planning Board recommended approval of the subdivision and site plans as submitted with the following requirements. Number 1 is to provide easement language to the town, allowing utility, pedestrian, and fire apparatus access as needed to ensure these areas remain open. Once the language is agreed upon, provide the town with the recorded map and easement language. Provide easement language to the town for the beach and soundside access easements. Once the language is agreed upon, provide the town with the recorded map and easement language. Note in the restrictive covenants that no additional access is allowed to town or NCDOT streets outside of the access as approved with this site plan. The developer is to modify the existing island located within Shell Road to meet the current ADA standards. The developer will work with the NCDOT and the town of Sur City to ensure compliance. And also a receiving ramp will be added on North Topsail Drive across from the ramp located on Sunrise Court. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Will this area that's being developed as far as Delmar Beach cause any more issues for Delmar Beach?
I can never say anything with 100% certainty, but I will say, and Mr. Riggs will probably agree, we were very concerned about stormwater on this. We looked significantly at the stormwater access or the stormwater controls on this. There is stormwater shown for all of the structures. There will be ditches added or swales added along the new road. Also, all of the parking, the driveways, everything that's outside of the right-of-way is going to be impervious stone, so we're not adding additional concrete or whatnot. So we have tried to mitigate any potential runoff issues.
You want to?
Charles Riggs, 502 New Bridge Street. In regards to stormwater, there were over 60 mobile homes on this site. And our new plan is reducing the impervious surface by more than 50%. So we're cutting the impervious surface in half. We're using pervious gravel everywhere. But in addition to that, we are actually having engineered French drains, you know, the stormwater plans for each individual single family. And then also engineered stormwater plans for each group of 2 family homes. So we're doubling up on our stormwater. So there shouldn't be any stormwater issues off this site. It should reduce any burden that y'all have had down the street. Okay. She's addressed all the
Any further questions?
items. I'll be glad to answer anything you might have.
I have some questions that probably wouldn't be appropriate to ask. I'm kidding, Charles. Thank you.
That's all right. I understand. Thank you.
Make a motion, we follow the recommendation from the planning board and approve the request as presented.
I'll second if you modify that they stipulate also to all the request of our planning director.
The 5 conditions as listed in the staff report.
I can do that, so
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
So the request or the motion would be to approve the site plan with the 5 conditions contained in the staff report. Is that right, Ms. Combs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call?
Yes, John Koloski, yes.
Buddy Fowler, yes.
Helms, yes.
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the site plan and subdivision for Dune Ridge. It's going to be a sad day when those mobile homes get moved out. All right, let's move on to manager's report. He's been waiting patiently.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It's only going to take up 45 more minutes.
Council and, of course, the public that's here to listen to the manager's report. Just a couple updates on some major projects. We had a bid opening for the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex on the 31st. So we did have a successful opening with 3 bidders. So we're just waiting on the consultant engineer to qualify that lowest bidder. We will then proceed to enter in a contract for phase 1 of new park project. So very excited about that. We met yesterday between the town, the contractor, the engineer, and NCDOT about the South Shore Stormwater Project, so everyone can familiarize themselves with the various moving pieces involved with that. It is anticipated that the contractor will begin mobilizing the week after Thanksgiving, so that's coming right up around the corner. Paving project, so patchwork is the only item remaining with the current paving project. This will affect South Shore and Canal Drive. It is anticipated that they will resume next week. The next project is already being coordinated through NCDOT. It is anticipated that advertisement for bidding will begin on December 28th with a contract let date of January 18th of 2024. This project will include the following roads or road segments: paving of Tortuga Lane, Sand Court, Shell Court, Island Court, Sound Court, East Ridge, 6th Street, Sea Manor Drive, and Sandy Lane. So that's the next project that's upcoming. Budget process, so the fiscal year 24-25 budget process will begin soon. The finance director and I will be meeting next week to develop a preliminary schedule for department heads and council. This process typically begins with a review of the capital improvement plan and requests from departments, so just starting to get into that mode. The prior fiscal year audit has been submitted and accepted by the local government commission. As a reminder, there's a deadline of October 31st every year to get that in, and that was in on time. The town's financials are in good shape. There are no findings in the audit report, and the town was able to grow its fund balance, which obviously are all positive things to report. Surf City Live was a success this past Saturday. I'd like to thank all the hard work from town staff as well as the volunteers that contributed to that success. We will be reconciling all the financials and we'll provide a report at a future meeting. Also, without all the sponsors, we wouldn't have been able to be successful with that event, so thank you to those as well. I've been demanded by the police chief back there to remind everybody that the No Shave November is still ongoing and they are still accepting donations. Those proceeds go directly with the Shop with a Cop program. Tree lighting, so please consider joining the town as we welcome the holiday season to Surf City. We'll be holding a tree lighting ceremony at Soundside Park on November 18th, which is next Saturday from 3 to 6 p.m. This will be a family-friendly event. And then to cap this off, I'd just like to say thank you to all of our veterans for their service and dedication to our country and town. We have 23 employees, which also includes some of our elected officials that proudly represent Surf City, and for that I'm certainly grateful, especially growing up in a military family. So that day is special to me. So that's all I have.
Attorney, you got a lot to say?
I've said more already for about a year meeting, so no report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right, John.
Okay, so like Kyle said, Surf City Live was a success, and everybody that helped, we graciously appreciated it. I think a good time was had by all. As far as I know, there were no security or any type of issues that arised. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And that's about it.
All right. How about Hugh Cannady?
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, thank you.
I'll be honest with you.
Buddy?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's good to see all of you. And I would like to thank the citizens of Surf City for allowing me the honor and privilege to represent them on the town council over the years. I'm proud of all the accomplishments the council has made and provided for our community. We're in the process now of starting a new chapter in the town of Surf City with new faces, new names, and on our town council. I want to congratulate the new council members on their election for the town council, and I look forward to having and have confidence in the great leadership that will be established for Surf City. I know they will continue to make this a family-friendly beach, a paradise for all to enjoy. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your kindness and your support. That's it.
Mr.
I
Helms?
also congratulate the candidates that are going to be council people, and I hope that they are as successful as we have been in the past to make this a great family beach. And we don't even know how many people that likes to come here, because we can't count them all. But my best wishes to all of you folks, and you have all my encouragement and my respect, so thank you. And I appreciate the Surf City residents also.
So I just want to say congratulations to our new members that will be coming onto the board, Trudy Solomon and Alicia Holly, keeping John Koloski down there. May the Lord be with y'all, strengthen you to help you guide our town with wisdom, but I can guarantee you that the two men sitting on each side of me will be missed. They have over 45 years' experience combined of leading our town, being very responsible with the taxpayers' money, and we will forever be grateful for your service. Thank you. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Do we need a roll call, attorney?
No, ma'am, thank you.
All right. We are adjourned.